Hello, Soul Family. I am Shannon Pardini, and I'm here with Quantum Heart Conversations. And I get the pleasure and honor of interviewing Suara Lee. And we're going to have a wonderful conversation today on the Akashic Records. I'm super excited, Suara, for you to share your specialty because, like I said, I don't know too much in that area. So, again, I think my audience will be excited to be well informed on this level. So I'm just going to step in really quickly before I have you talk more, and I'm going to read your bio. So Suara Lee is a premier Akashic Records reader, teacher, and healer. She is dedicated to connecting people to the truth of their soul through the wisdom of the Akashic Records. Suara helps her clients access their soul essences to find their life's purpose, transform limitations, and experience more freedom in their authentic selves. Suara has provided transformational healing sessions for 12 years in clients worldwide. She is an Akashic Records practitioner, a Reiki master, a channel intuitive energy healer, and spiritual teacher. You know, you guys can find Suara. She does individual readings and she also teaches courses and does one-on-one. And so we'll give more information about that at the end today. So welcome, my dear. I'm so happy to have you here. And yeah,
Thank
just
you, Shannon.
opening it up. Yeah. Tell us more about just everything you. I want to hear about the Akashic Records.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for having me. It is such a pleasure to be here and to be talking with your audience, especially about my favorite topic, which is the Akashic Records. Yeah, so like it said in the bio, I am an Akashic Records reader, teacher, and healer. And the first question that I get asked is, what are the Akashic Records? And they are an energetic field that exists flowing through us right now. We are living in it and it exists in a higher dimension. So we are just not aware that it's there, but this energetic field is taking an energetic imprint of everything that is happening within us, around us, thoughts that we have, emotions that we have, beliefs that we're carrying, actions that we're taking. And it acts as an energetic library for everything that we've ever done in the past, including past lives, as well as it contains within it all the future possibilities as well. All the possibilities that are standing out there in front of us, all the different timelines are there, and so it is a wonderful place to go and ask any kind of question that has to do with maybe a higher perspective than what we're looking at right now. If we ask a question in the Akashic Records and we receive an answer back, it can be from a multi-soul perspective, I mean, a multi-lifetime perspective, from a soul's perspective. So when you think about that, that's pretty big. It's a big perspective, a pretty high place to come from. And so it's a really great place to go and ask these kinds of questions. And I know that sounds a little bit daunting because it is such a vast place with tons of information, but we're super lucky that we have the assistance of Akashic Records guides that we work with to help us get the answers that we need. You can imagine that if you enter this field and all this information is existing there at one time, it's sort of like the internet of the soul. It's all there all at the same time. There is no time, no space, no separation. Everything is existing simultaneously. That walking into that space would be like drinking from a fire hose. It's just so much information coming at you. How do you retrieve that one piece of information that you need right now in your current situation? So, luckily, we have the help of our guides there when we walk up to that great library or the great internet, that we are met by the Akashic Records guides and they help us sort of maneuver and get the answers that we are looking for. And those answers are so very useful to us. They help us see our situations in a new light. It gives us a higher perspective. It sort of detaches us from any sort of emotional, mental processing embroilment that we might have in the situation and helps relieve some of that energetic excess energy that we might be going through so that we can approach any situation with a little bit more confidence, knowing what's really happening underneath the surface, as well as having the guidance for what to do next, what's highest and best to do next. So, this is the work that I do. I go into the Akashic Records of other people. I ask the guides the questions that they might have in a certain situation, and we just go from there. I sort of trust the process. Whatever the guides tell me, I'm here to do that. So I know in my bio it says that I am a Akashic Records reader, teacher, and healer. And healer is a tricky word because I'm not doing the one, I'm not the one doing the healing. It really is the guide. It really is the person themselves, the client themselves, and their higher selves that they're going through the healing. But I know that healing is a word that really helps people. So that's why that's in there. But that's the type of work that I do. We answer those questions, we go for the healing, we release things that we don't need anymore. And yeah, I just have the most amazing time doing this work. So I'm really happy to be here and talk about it.
Yeah, I love how passionate you just can feel the energy in the field that you hold and the intelligence of tapping into that area and knowing when you're just, that direct information source that you're getting and it's pure. I feel that field from you. And with that said, I'm curious, what led you to this path of fully focusing in on the Akashic records? What started this journey for you?
Yeah, you know, I never considered myself to be, extra gifted in any extra sensory perception or anything like that. I was really a regular kid. And I never saw, like, heard messages or saw spirits or lights or auras or anything like that. I didn't even really have deja vu all that much. But when I one thing that I was a seeker. I always was on a journey of seeking, looking for spiritual information, truth, deeper meanings to things. And I was consuming information like crazy, reading and anything I could about everything: religions, Buddhism, meditation, yoga, Reiki, healing energies, just anything that I could. And along that journey, I discovered the Akashic Records. And when I heard the word Akashic Records, it was almost as if a bell rang inside of me, in my body. I could feel it. There was something about just hearing those words that I thought, "Ah, I have to find out more about that. I don't even know what that is, but I have to find out more." Unfortunately, I didn't listen to that call the first time I heard that, and it took a couple years. And then Spirit pretty much said, "Okay, now is the time. There's no more waiting." And I started to see Akashic Records and hear it everywhere. Everywhere randomly. I'd be walking down the street. This was in New York, and I was walking down the street. And right in that one moment when you pass this couple of women that were walking down the street, in that one moment, one of the women said Akashic Records in her conversation. And in that moment, I heard the words. It was like amazing. How would you, like, in that one moment, how could you even hear that, right? But I heard that, and something inside of me, again, I had the chills in that moment. And then that night, when I went to dinner, at the table next to me was another couple, and they were talking about the Akashic Records. I heard it right there at the table next to me. Okay, I get Spirit. I understand. I have to look into this. Then I walked into the bookstore, and then there was a book that practically fell off the shelf, but it was there, and it sort of moved over because somebody was on the other side of the bookshelf, like pulling on books and stuff. So it kind of jiggled this one book, and I thought, okay, that's it. I have to really look into this. So I did what most people do, which is to get my very first Akashic Records reading. And when I did that, it was the most amazing feeling. I felt like I had come home. It was like a remembrance that was happening. I was feeling who I was on really deep levels. Now, it was happening energetically, so I can't really, I didn't really understand in a cerebral kind of way what was going on, but energetically, I felt almost like it was like this warm blanket that just wrapped around me. But that blanket was me. It was my soul. It was my truth that was holding me. And I felt like I had come home. And the information that I got in the Akashic Records was profound. It was information that I don't think I could have gotten in any other way. My core issue my whole life has been imposter syndrome. Everything that I was struggling with always came back down to imposter syndrome, feelings of unworthiness. And the information that came from the records that day was that I had lived a past life in, like, very old China, and I was this little girl that was deaf and mute. And because I couldn't, usually kids who had disabilities like this died at a very young age. They weren't really supported by their family. Sometimes they were just left out in the forest or something. So it was pretty unusual for me to, make it and grow up. But I was definitely treated as a lower class citizen, like I wasn't a whole person in other people's eyes. And so that mistreatment, abuse, carried with me. I was actually told messages of that I am worthless. I'm worse than dirt, like just worthless. And that, in that lifetime, I actually died early from an accident. Something fell on top of me. And in the last few moments of my life, an angel came, not really an angel, but a person in the form of a person. This one girl who was living in the house that I was in, treated with me with so much love in those last few moments, just like brought me everything I needed, took care of me, wrapped me in blankets, all of that. That for the first time in that life, I knew that I was loved because of that last moment before my death. And there was something about having this information from that lifetime that is where these feelings of imposter syndrome and unworthiness came from. It just it just turned. It's almost as if I was immediately released from it, just having that information. It was like this anchor that was present in a past life that was affecting me in this current lifetime, and I just couldn't move from it. As much as I tried everything, hypnosis and therapy and journal writing, anything, it wasn't until I actually had that information from that past life and unhooked it that finally in my lifetime I could feel something inside of me just moved. It did move a lot. It wasn't like I, came out of the session and was a brand new person. It just moved 1 degree. And I knew, oh my gosh, this is the first time ever that I have felt it move. I have to look into what this is. What is the Akashic Records? This is real. I felt it viscerally. I felt something shift in my life. So I started to study it on my own. And the next thing that most people do is to go and buy a book. And the book that they usually buy is the one by Linda Howe about the Akashic Records, accessing the Akashic Records. And it's a great primer for anybody out there who is interested in learning about the Akashic Records. That's the book to go to. It's very beautifully written. And from that point forward, I just was on a long road of study. And the thing about my way of accessing the Akashic Records is I had to learn how to do this work very meticulously, very thoroughly. I learned from my teachers, yes, of course, but also my fellow students, because I did learn with a group of people that were very gifted, that were naturally spiritually inclined, had those spiritual gifts where they can hear messages and see visions. And so I learned from them, what are you experiencing? How do you receive this information? What does that feel like? So now coming to this point, 12 years working with clients, but really the journey was 20 years of work that I am able to access the Akashic Records. I'm able to tap into all of my clairs, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, claircognizance, and receive that information that my guides have told me that that's my path. That is what I'm here to teach, is to teach the regular guy how to access into this information, learning those little meticulous, nuancy kind of steps to get there, and that everyone can have access to this information. It's real. It's out there. We can all access it. And just like doing anything else in your life, you just have to learn what the steps are 1, 2, 3. It's like riding a bike. You just learn 1, 2, 3, and it just clicks right in, because it is available to everyone. It is your natural state of being to have that information, to be communicating with your guides, and to be tapped into that field of unity, the field of oneness, the field where we're all one and we're all connected, where we can feel divine source and it is flowing through us. We're already there. And it's kind of an illusion that we think that we're not, but it's relearning how to access that. So yeah, that was my journey. Sorry, that was the long way around.
No, that was
Yeah.
beautiful. That was really beautiful. And there's so much to be said in that, again, like going to the actual experience where you were sitting in the field of energy of that past life. And, I do a lot of this work where I notice that, when you're not only when you're seeing the actual visual and you're there, but you're embodying the frequency at the same simultaneously, right? There's so much resolution. And like you said, it's subtle, it takes us up a notch, but you were able to, feel and sense those stuck belief systems that the little girl was feeling, right? Of what she was going into. And the body likes to be felt that way one last time, right? When it wants to release. And then you were able to go to the other side of it, of it holding a new frequency of that love, that self-worth, right? That purity field of it. And you were able to, override the situation within the present experience. And so again, this work is profound. And I just love energy work and how we all tap in and channel. And like you said, at the end of the day, we know the wholeness within and how, advanced each are, and we have this capability to fully step in into, no healing is involved. The body already knows what it wants to be, but with pathways like what you're doing, it's just such a gift where we can teach people to have these experiences and hold fields that they've never held before. And when you get the visuals with it too, it just brings in a lot of clarity, focus, and then that determination to kind of shift things around, because you don't have to be pressured by that
Yeah,
cycle, right? So thanks for
yeah,
sharing. Yeah, it's just such a cool way to see. And what's nice about this vehicle of using the Akashic records is, you were able to open up multisensory. And on top of it, what an experience to be with the people, right? With the students, and to sit right in all that mastery together. You all have something to
yeah,
share, and it's amazing how we all tune one another. So
yeah.
again, beautiful experience. I love what you shared. And I am curious to know more, when you're going into the Akashic records, you're taking someone in. What is the process for that?
Yeah, so most Akashic records use the same process, and we all use an Akashic Records prayer. It's a sacred prayer. It has been downloaded from the Akashic Records and given to us by the guides, Akashic Guides. And the prayer acts as an energetic bridgeway into the Akashic Records. You have to have the permission of the person who owns those records, and then some sort of sacred prayer to access the records. Now, everybody's prayer is a little bit different. There's a few versions of them out in the world. I have used a few of them myself. And my experience of that is it's almost like walking into a really big mansion. You can come in through the front door, you can come in through the side garden, you can come in through a lot of different doors. But once you come in, you can access all the information. You can walk into any room that you need to walk into. So it's a little bit like that. But typically, it is through a sacred prayer. And when we say the prayer and we go through all the steps, there's a grounding, there is calling in the light, there's a few steps to it, and then we enter into the Akashic Records, you'll actually feel it. And most clients will feel this very visceral, like energy moving through them and through their body. And they can feel it. Okay, now we have entered into that field of the Akashic Records. And then once we're there and we ask a question to the guides, yeah, that's where all the clairs get activated and we receive the information. Sometimes it's just an automatic knowing. Sometimes, it's a whole conversation. Some people I know even like read literal pages from a book. They could read words from a book. So it depends on, which clairs you are strongest in. It depends on, how you communicate with your guides every day, because we're talking to our guides every day. And so that information comes in. And yeah, every single time it's a little bit different because every person's Akashic Records is a little bit different. And what's so beautiful too is that, like I said, you have to have the permission of the person to access their Akashic records. And the truth is, there's an Akashic records for everything. There's my Akashic records, there's yours, but then there's one for my pet, my dog sitting over here. There's an Akashic records for her. This house, for every relationship that has its own Akashic records as well. There really is a records for everything, your business, your job. You can go in and really open the Akashic records for all of those things and ask questions. And it is so supportive. It's so fascinating, the work, especially like I found my house actually using the Akashic records. I had just put in a bid on a house. And so I went into the Akashic records for that house and asked, like, hey, is this my house? Are we meant to be together? Have this relationship? And the records just said, no, it's not going to happen. I was so heartbroken. So I came out of the Akashic records from there and I jumped onto Zillow and I was like, okay, if it's not going to be that house, which house is it? And right when I was shopping for another, like looking at the listings, another listing popped up and I thought, oh, that's an interesting one. Just for the heck of it, let's try. I opened the Akashic records for that house and right away it came in, yes, this is your house. And so I looked at the new listing, called the realtor. Within 20 minutes, I was at the home putting a bid in, and then that was it. And this is how I found this house. It was an amazing process. But if you think about that too, that everything has an Akashic records, if you have your own business, for example, you can go in and ask for your business, what do you want to accomplish in the world? What are you trying to bring into the world through me, using me as a vehicle? What is that? And then, even with that, you can partner with the energies of your business in a way that is more of a straight line, that's more clear. And when you do that, it's an incredibly powerful thing. Yeah,
I love
yeah,
that. I love all the
yeah.
areas that you're assisting in. And I'm glad that you brought that up because so many of us, especially, in those important areas of business and finding a home, it's to have something that really, plugs into that person's, frequency and soul, right? It's kind of a direct shot and it's easy to get the yes and no through questions. When you're working with someone, say that, do you have clients that actually they ask about particular houses and businesses? Is that something that they do, or does the Akashic Records just kind of open up for them and they go into that particular part of their life?
Um, well, I don't think I had anyone who was looking to buy a house, but I did have a couple people who were asking about their business location and if it was good for them. And yeah, if that comes up, I will do a whole separate reading for that. It's a really fascinating process because there are so many things that can happen in the Akashic records of a building, of the land, and were there any sacred contracts here? Were there any battles that happened here on this land? Are there any earthbound souls, wandering souls that are still attached to this property? So, to do that, I would open the Akashic records of the property separately. We could definitely go into a person's Akashic records and just talk about some of the information, the relationship between that person and that property. But I think it would be best to open that record separately. And it really is just such fascinating work. There's so much access to various kinds of information. So I don't know if I answered your question, but yeah, is that what you meant?
Yeah, no, that adds more clarity to the process.
Yeah.
I was thinking if you do go into the Akashic records, it kind of shows directly what the focus is, or if the person wants to, decide what they focus on. Do
Yeah.
you find that most of your clients come in for more body type healing? Is that the majority that are coming in for?
Well, I think that most people do see the Akashic Records as this informational highway. And so the first idea is that, well, I'm going to go in and I'm going to get information. And most folks are surprised at the depth and the level that we go to. A lot of times there will be, it's very common to have energy work come in to pull out things that might be trapped within your physical body, your energetic body, your mental body, emotional bodies. We have a lot of different bodies that we carry around with us. And we might discover things. There might be a darkness, there might be an entity, there might be some sort of thought form that is impacting. And the guides reveal that to us. They reveal that to me. And then from there, like I said, I just do what they say. I ask them, what do we do with this? And sometimes it does. It requires energy work, light work. In the bio, you heard that I'm a Reiki master. I might use Reiki, some quantum healing energy. It might be prayer, forgiveness, reframing. There's a lot of different things that we can do, a lot of tools in the toolbox, and it works on so many different levels. And just the first level of that is that just entering into the energy of the Akashic records in itself is such a high vibrational field that that is healing just in and of itself. But then as we do the work, it can get very deep to include, all the different bodies. And the whole time we're being guided. So I just trust that whatever happens, healing, forgiveness, light work, whatever that might be, all of it is for the highest good. Yeah.
Beautiful. It
Mm.
sounds like a
Yeah.
wonderful experience. And so moving forward, you're going to be bringing in new processes. I know you're bringing in a beautiful series for 2024 with speakers. What
Yeah.
does 2024 look like for you with the Akashic Records and expansion?
Well, I do think that the Akashic Records, they've been around for a long time, like known in this country since the 70s. They came up from South America through Mexico up into the US. And So right now, during that time from the 70s to now, there has been more information going out into the world. Well, that popularity, that the Akashic Records being known, being taught to people, has really reached this bubbling up point that it is now going out to the masses. It's becoming much more popular, and there's more people seeking how to read their own Akashic Records and have this experience. So 2024 really is about spreading that word about the Akashic Records to the masses, that it is really going to be commonly known. More and more people are going to learn how to access their own Akashic Records. And that fits within the larger context of where we are evolving as a consciousness for humanity, in that we are letting go of things that no longer work for us. Old paradigms are falling away, they're being broken apart, and things that are no longer relevant are being discarded, and that whatever is remaining is being transformed into where we are headed, the new earth, the new human, the new paradigm ascension, all of it. And so, as a part of that work, going into the Akashic Records is such a useful tool. And like I said, there's a process to it. There's a prayer, there's a beginning, middle, end to that process. But where we will eventually end up is that we won't even need to have this process anymore, that we will always be tapped in, that we will be integrating the spiritual with the physical, our soul's truth, having the access to the infinite mind, to collective consciousness while we are embodied, and that those two things will be married together. That is where we're heading. And when we're in that place, we'll be so connected in, we won't need to have that process, that prayer to walk it. It's kind of clunky if you really think about it, right? Okay, so I have to sit down, I've got to like meditate and sit ground, call on the light, say this prayer, do this thing. Like it's a little clunky. We are going to be in such a state of embodiment, of unity, of marrying the human experience with the spiritual, that that we won't even need these processes anymore. It's just going to be a natural part of who we are. But to get there, this process is very useful, especially for the masses, especially for the regular folks like me. It's very useful to have a beginning, middle, end, and in that process, learn the steps. What does it feel like to receive information? Oh, I receive visions really well. I can hear really well, but how do I drop into the other clairs? What is that experience? So right now we are in that learning phase, and 2024 is going to be all about that. And it's all heading towards the bigger goal of full integration, letting go of the old, finally coming into our soul's truth, and having that be reflected in everything that we do, in the way that society works. Like those societal paradigms are changing, things are breaking apart and coming back together. Right now, though, there seems to be one last like hurrah of the old coming through. We seem to be going backwards in time a little bit, and we're playing the greatest hits of, various human paradigms from the past seem to be rearing their heads up again one last time. But once we push through this period, we'll get to the other side of that, and we will build a new earth, a new way of being. So I'm super excited about that. I'm super excited to be a part of this current that's happening, that you're a part of too as well, that we are all working together. And the audience that's here, you are on the front edge of that. You're on the cutting edge of that. So we're doing this all together. Our light is joining together to create a light grid around the world to help us all move forward into that new paradigm. So thank you.
Yeah, I love that. I love that we are in a big integration phase and we're totally in this major timeline split, right? Where it's amazing how the consciousness wants to know itself in all these ways, right? But it couldn't be louder,
Mhm.
in frequency in everything that we're seeing. And I love that the way that you speak upon integration, because it's like for the people just waking up, these processes are so necessary until they become second nature. And then the first waivers that have been on the healing path, they're moving more into this very telepathic, like they're just there in that space. And that is what we are. Again, there's the technology of this experience, and with the body we are so advanced. And I just love hearing where you're sharing from, where we're all working in this space as energetic healers, but how it is going to come together, and it is going to just be this one fluid second nature state of consciousness where we'll be able to see really what's in front of us. And again, we wanted to all experience these, you know, different ways of frequency within our lives. And it's incredible how we're doing it, like
Yeah.
right in front. And to be alive at this time, to see the whole old paradigm just completely just sinking, right? And it's the
Yeah.
foundation that was never built on anything solid of structure. And the new foundations of this integration, it's, when you talk about that light weave happening around, that's what structure is. It's just
Yeah.
this pure field of our innate consciousness. And so I just appreciate you and how you're facilitating for others and how you bring so much joy and wisdom in the experience. You can see how much it lights you up. And
Yeah.
so with that said, I'm just kind of curious, and I don't know if you can speak upon it, but can you share an example of a profound Akashic Records reading that you went into where it just was like it just set the bar to really just shift things in your mindset and body?
Um, Let me think about that. Every Akashic Records reading that I have, it is profound. And I love this work that I do because when I used to work back in my job in corporate America, I would go to every meeting, and after every meeting, I would feel really drained, like, oh, that took something out of me. Working in this work has the exact opposite effect that when I'm in that energy, that column of light, that field that you're talking about, after every session, I feel uplifted. So to me, when I think about it, like every session is like this upliftment, this profound energy boost. Um, but maybe one was that there was this woman that came in and she was raised as atheist and but for some reason in her adult life, she decided that she kind of looked at different religions and she was really attracted to, for some reason, Judaism. And so she became Jewish. She converted and became Jewish, but she could never really explain it. And there was a real kind of heaviness to it, like there was something very solemn, but also heavy and weighty, almost feeling like an obligation or something. And what came forward was that she had lived a life where she was a little girl in Nazi Germany and their family was protecting another family. And when she um, when this happened, she wanted to do something really good and go to the library and get a bunch of books for this family so they wouldn't be bored, so that they would have something to do and some books to read. But she didn't know that her family was being watched, and she ended up being followed by soldiers and then followed back home. And when they saw all these books that she was getting, they also knew that something was up. And it ended up that the family were captured. The family they were trying to protect were captured. And she had such profound guilt over that she that made these decisions and it affected these families. She thought she was doing a good thing. And this guilt affected her in the current incarnation. It was this real weighty heaviness, an inability to make decisions or to take action. Like every decision, even the smallest thing, was so heavy, it weighed on her heart. It was very difficult for her to move and make decisions. And so she was always told when, growing up, how indecisive she was. And that's how she had framed it up in herself. When we went and this lifetime came up, we saw this, we brought light to it, we brought forgiveness to this little girl. She brought forgiveness to herself. She was able to embrace herself in that past life. We visited that lifetime and she had shared this visualization with me. And she brought forgiveness to that little girl. I knew that she had the purest heart. She could see it, that this girl had a pure heart, was trying to do something good. It was just really unfortunate events that happened after. And she forgave herself. And we also received messages from the souls of this family that it was all meant to be. It was just part of something that was unfolding. And that, yes, in that moment, it might have felt like it was an atrocity, it was a terrible thing, but that the perfection of it, she really saw that from that higher perspective across lifetimes. And when we came out of that process, oh my gosh, the shift that this woman experienced was profound. it explained to her her really, what she thought was kind of a weird fascination for wanting to become Jewish. It was really unrelated to her. And so then it explained that, explained to her her indecisiveness and her difficulty making decisions. And it lifted that. Like all of a sudden, what she would face decision points, choice points, and she just knew what she wanted and she knew where to go and was able to take that action. And she could never really access that for herself inside because there was this fear. And in her life, she was always trying to identify, where did that fear come from? Let me uproot it. Let me, talk to it, give it a new job, whatever that is, but couldn't really move that and couldn't see results happening in her life. But all of a sudden, it just switched for her. And that's all we had to do, was just look at it, bring forgiveness to it, bring light to it. We were guided the entire time. And then when she came out of that session, it was different. And she was able to now step into her life more fully, allowing herself that self expression, making decisions, making choices, giving herself permission to do what she thought was right, to make choices, take action, and know that it would not have devastating consequences. And she was set free. So just that feeling of freedom, you can just imagine the profound sense that is, to be able to be like, oh, okay, I'm safe. People around me are safe. No one's going to get hurt. I'm okay to move forward in my life and express myself and give myself permission to do that. So that was just one example. There's so many, healings that have happened, even physical healings with people. Yeah, it's just too many to count, but that's the one that came to mind right now.
Yeah, no, I love that. And it's good for the audience to hear an example of the types of transformation. And, it's not only are you going through the process of deep, deep subconscious limiting beliefs, right? It's like you have a whole explanation, and then you get to have these higher fields of reconciliation, right? And then on top of
Yeah,
it, you're in that healing energy. You get to be in that field, for a significant amount of time where the body's, getting all kinds of different frequencies that are up leveling. So I love where you're sharing from. And so we have better understanding of what one can receive with having a healing like this. So I
yeah,
appreciate that.
absolutely.
Is there
Yeah.
anything else you want us to know about Akashic Records? Is there any last things that you want to share that you think we should receive and understand?
Let me just tap in for a second. Yeah, so what's coming forward is that the guides that are present right now, my guides, just really want everyone to know that this information is available to you, that nothing is held back from you. It's all available. And through this path, you will be able to access those deeper levels of information, yes, but also healing energies, freedom, releasing yourself from limiting beliefs, releasing yourself from the past, past programs, blocks, all of that. It is all available to you. And right now is that time. There's a huge current of this energy moving forward that we're all putting down the past and stepping into that new future. And so letting it go, why ride this wave, ride this current and surf on it. That's how they're showing it to me right now, like surfing on this huge wave. And and ride that energy into what is available to you in the future. It doesn't have to be hard. It could be so much easier than sometimes we can make it. At least I can make it. And so it's available to us. It can be easy, it can be guided every step of the way. And what is on the other side of that is love, is joy, is self expression, is this really high vibrational energy. It is all available to us in the here and now. Sometimes we think that in this incarnation, it can be pretty hard. It can be, there's separation, there's war, there's all kinds of stuff, but it is all available to us right now, here, while we are in this paradigm, in this 3D. We can experience the joy, the love, the connection, the truth of who we are, our self expression, our fullest selves. And so, yeah, that is it. That's the biggest message right now they want to share with the audience.
Beautiful. Yeah. And thank
Yeah.
you, Suara. It's again, the field of energy you hold is so joyful. It is so, just sitting here with you, I feel so grounded and at peace. And thank you for everything you're doing and I love what you're bringing forward and the way that you're sharing it. And so, if my audience wants to reach out to you, where can they find you?
Yeah, it's pretty easy. You can visit me at my website. It's akashicrecords.com. It's pretty simple to remember, akashicrecords.com. And if you want to email me, I'm Suara at akashicrecords.com. Just write to me. I'm very open. I answer all my emails. So, yeah, I would love to hear from you and connect with you and visit your Akashic Records with you.
Ah, I love it. I have to do it sometime with you. It sounds just amazing and
Absolutely.
profound. And again, I just appreciate you so much. And thank you for taking the time today. And yeah, audience, now's your chance if you want to work with someone who's deeply in her wisdom and radiant energy here, which we're all just experiencing in our time together. You know where to reach out to, and I'll link everything on this YouTube channel too, so they can access your information. And yeah, so I appreciate you, sweetie. Any last words? Like, I know you shared all the beautiful pieces of the Akashic Records and so forth, but what would you like to say before we end?
Well, I just want to say how grateful that I am to be here on this show with you. I'm so grateful for the work that you do, Shannon. It is amazing. It's profound. You are so gifted. And so you are a gift not only to me, but everyone here through your work, through your message. So thank you for what you're doing here.
No, thank you. And just likewise, appreciate you. And I just look forward to our friendship and everything moving on in 2024. So let's do this. It's going to be a fun year.
Yeah, let's
Lots
do
of
it.
profound changes. I'm ready to see. All right.
For
Thank you,
sure.
love. And then to the
Thank
audience,
you.
we'll see you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.